Well, thank you again for those that tune in onto our collective YouTube channel to see this latest podcast. Sorry for my crackling voice, still got a bit of a cough on me. But anyway, in this continue Good New World series, season 1, episode 2, which is entitled New Mathematics. And so first I have to define what I mean by new mathematics. Obviously, it's a bold claim when you think you propose arrogantly or egotistically that you discovered new science, new mathematics. So you have to back those words up with actual proofs. And that's how I'm going to be defining what I mean by new mathematics. Everyone knows the natural numbers. So natural numbers define our reality in life, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we can do commerce, we can do arithmetic, we can define the reality of our world. In fact, math is the tool that gives us the foundation to define our world. We're using it for commerce, to buy things, making predictions or trajectory. Math is a vital tool. When I was a physicist, I used to think that math was just a basic tool that we physicists were the fundamental science. But I've sort of backtracked now and realized that actually math is the foundation of our reality, and science is actually built on top of mathematics. So in a way, I sort of inverted my prominence. So anyway, let me dive into what I mean by new mathematics. So as I said, the natural numbers are your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 integers. And I'm not going to go into the fractional number, irrational. I'm not going to go into too much of those details. So we use these maths to describe our real world, at least the practical maths, number theory, geometry, etc. And talking about geometry, the Euclidean geometry is the one that we most known about. It's discovered by the Greek philosopher or mathematician Euclid a couple of thousand years ago. So Euclidean geometry is basically a flat geometry. It's what we conceptually, most of us see in our everyday life. Describe the 3 dimensions of space, forward, backwards, left, right, up, and down, and it's a flat geometry. So what I mean by flat, well, there's some fundamental rules to that. So, for example, 2 parallel lines that on a flat Euclidean geometry will never intersect. So you draw parallel lines, they will go forever and ever without crossing. But there are other geometry. Probably the most famous one is the non-Euclidean, which is used by Einstein to describe his general theory of relativity, which defines space-time not as a flat dimension, but as a curved space-time. And it's curved due to energy mass. So that's probably the most famous non-Euclidean geometry used to describe space-time. So similarly, my new mathematics is a new interpretation, just like Einstein used a new geometric description of curved space-time to describe the effects of gravity. Well, similarly, I'm using a new number theory, which I've developed to help me formulate a new description of reality and also help me calculate problems that have remained unresolved. So I'm going to share my screen with you and give you some more information regarding what I mean by my new mathematics. So you bear with me, patient. I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen with you now. And so the first is this is a new reference frame. As you know, in our Euclidean 3-dimension, when I say 3-dimension, I mean spatial dimension. Obviously, with general relativity, space-time is a 4-dimension, 3 spatial, 1 temporal. But here I'm specifically just talking about space itself. So again, Euclidean flat geometry, we typically define the x-axis, left, right. the y-axis back and front, and the z-axis up and down. So in our traditional four-dimensional space-time, three space, x, y, z, and the temporal time, you only have one reference frame. Like I'm in a reference frame here, sitting here, discussing here. But in my twin universe, those that know my discovery of twin universe, which will be covered in another future podcast, which relates to my new science, my geometric reference frame is actually in these four reference frame because there's a twin universe. So this is one positive universe. I define this as a positive universe. So in this case, you see in the upper left corner, you have a positive observer viewing positive universe. So I am the positive observer, and I'm in the positive universe viewing the interaction like I'm having with you right now. But in the twin universe, there's also a negative observer view negative universe. And then I said to you, you can also have a positive observer view negative universe and a negative observer view positive universe. So there's four-dimensional numeric entity frames of reference. And this is where I get my natural numbers from, that I define the natural numbers as not as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I state that the natural numbers actually inherently is defined as four natural number group, because our reality, the one that we interact, is in our positive universe. But there's a negative universe as well, which it's seen in my previous discussion is orthogonal to us. Orthogonal means is at right angle. So we cannot see, we cannot touch it, but it's like the real physical number and the imaginary number. But it is a real, you can add like real numbers and imaginary numbers and get a vector component, which is equivalent to a numeric value that gives us a value of the interaction between both universes. Previously, I mentioned about the electrical circuit, where the resistor is a resistance to moving charge, which is in our real world, and a capacitor and inductor gives a imaginary component to resistance called reluctance to charge due to the capacitive effect and the inductive effect as well. So similarly here, I'm stating that there's this new number formula. The natural numbers, if you encompass the entire cosmos, which relates to positive and negative universe, inherently comes up with this four natural number case. I mean, obviously, we only observe our own single natural number with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, those also exist, but they exist in four natural number groups, which is defined as n plus, which is the positive even numbers that exist, n minus, which is the negative even numbers in our universe. And likewise, in the twin universe, in the negative domain, I give the numbers as the imaginary component ni and n minus I, the positive I and the negative I. Okay, so that's how I define my new natural number group. That's actually, if you're using it to describe the entire cosmos in its totality, it actually comes up, as I said, with actually four natural number groups. So again, just like Einstein used non-Euclidean geometry to describe his curved spacetime, I can use this four natural number group to describe effect that is related to my twin universe. So for example, I'm going to give you, this is the Goldbach conjecture. It's remained unsolved for, I think, 200-300 years. Basically, it defines that every even number can be created to the sum of two prime numbers. And I said to you, this conjecture has actually remained unsolved for over 200 years. So using this four natural number group, I have formulated a postulate which I believe actually solved this Goldbach conjecture. I'm not going to go into full detail. It's actually contained within my manuscript, which I publish, so you can get that. But this just gives you a quick overview of my solution to it. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into greater depth. You can, I said to you, for the real mathematician, scientist out there that wants to you can freeze it and see whether this solution is applicable. Now, of course, I believe genuinely it is applicable because it states that that is a correct conjecture, that all even numbers, here in this case n plus n minus, is equal to the sum of two prime numbers. So, along with solving mathematical solution, the four natural numbers, it also inherently define the code of life itself. So we all know, in fact, last week in my podcast, I discussed about new life. So this new mathematics is inherently associated with the code of life itself. I call it the universal genetic code. So all living organisms that we're aware of here on Earth, and we assume everywhere else in the universe, is coded by the DNA, which is paired as CA and GT, the code of life. And similarly, I'm stating that the cosmos is also a living entity. Its code is actually the four natural numbers which I define, which is n plus n minus, and ni and n minus I. In fact, I go even further and state that I can actually define the genetic chromosomal code for the cosmos itself. Those that knows me know that I claim to scientifically prove the existence of God. So this is one facet of me proving it. So if you look at this, for those biologists, you recognize that this is very similar, not only very similar, but this circular chromosomal design is actually the most basic bacterial life form. Single cell bacterial life form is actually made of this circular chromosome. Typically, bacteria in the most simplest have thousands of genetic gene code. In this case, I'm saying that the cosmos is actually only made up of 180 pairs, which is 360, which, for those that know, 360 degrees, typically, it describes the geometric circular circumference of a circle. It is divided into 360. So it's a very fundamental number. And from this circular gene of the cosmos or God itself, and also, again, last week when I mentioned this new life, I said by that definition, you could argue that God did make man in his form. Of course, man being the bacterial code, because the chromosomal DNA of God looks just like a bacteria. And just like a bacteria, the twin universe was created out of binary fission, which is also the way that bacteria reproduce. And obviously, from the beginning of life, some 3.5 billion years here on Earth, the beginning of the single cell life form, eventually over the billion years came up to create the most advanced form of life form, at least on this planet. So as I say, it took over 3 billion years before God created the image that ultimately ended up as we Homo sapiens here on Earth. Now, you say again, I'm an experimental physicist, and everything I state has to have some numeric values which we can test with results. So in this case, I took this 180 base pairs, which is 360 degrees, and I was actually able to calculate the actual equivalent quantum state of the entire universe based on this just 180 base pairs. And if you do go through this, again, I'm not going to go into detail, again, it's in the book. For those that are into math, they can see it. But amazingly, this 180 base pairs, 360 degrees, actually give you a numeric quantum state, possible number quantum state, as n approximately 10 to the power 82. So that's 1 with 82 zeros. And miraculously, coincidentally, but I think is actually the fundamental reason. This God chromosome happens to be the equivalent number of observable baryonic particle in the entire universe. So I say I don't think things coincident. And so I said, so this new mathematics, which is stemmed from my natural number grouping that exists as 4, not only helps solve various unsolved math problems, but it can also define the God chromosome, and from that you can determine the amount of observable baryonic particles. So it is actually practical, and the new mathematics. In fact, I'm working on a even greater revelation to come. So continue to watch this space. So I thank you for your patience, for tuning in onto this. So this is the episode 2. So next week will be episode 3, which will relate to new commandments. So much love and peace to all humanity, and my divine Christ star blessing to you all. Thank you very much.